see you guys in the dark.
This happened over many months when I was 12, maybe 13 years old. During this, we were living in a quiet little neighborhood in a college town. It was a very peaceful area, kind of in between the more upper-class neighborhoods and the city apartment campus part of town. I was homeschooled at this time, and combined with having been pulled out of public school by a single working parent who didn't take any time to think about it, meant that I didn't go to school in any way for a few years. And since I had no friends, I was either at home or exploring the endless labyrinth of yuppie houses about a block or two over with my headphones on, or being that annoying regular at the comic shop. During the relatively brief period that we lived here, we were in a house on a corner with a yard, and then a small ravine that was right behind us. On the other side were our only immediate neighbors. There was a single-parent household headed up by a very tiny, petite woman who had came off like one of those Midwestern sitcom type of moms. She happened to have a son who was 22 years old or so, and who we didn't see much of because he was taking a bunch of classes at one of the nearby colleges. There was also your typical gamer neckbeard 17-year-old who we didn't see outside very much, and seemed to wear just Devil May Cry t-shirts. A goth daughter who, I assumed, was around 15 or so, based off of her appearance and her mannerisms. It didn't help much that she had an incredibly hot topic-y type of wardrobe, and often had that gothic Lolita look going on. They were pretty friendly, especially the mother. They were just kind of odd, but the longer that we lived next to them, the more that we realized something was kind of off with them. The mom had this cheerful, borderline creepy Stepford wife thing going on with her. It seemed like she never stopped smiling whatsoever. Three kids, however, were very often and rarely seemed to be in a good mood. Even when they seemed like they were trying to be friendly with people, it soon came into light why. Our houses were close together, with each of our kitchen side doors directly towards each other across just a few feet of grass, divided by our short fence. I was home by myself quite often, especially during the summer vacation when my family was usually out doing things all day. I spent a lot of time watching TV in my living room, which was right off the kitchen. It was very common to hear the mother screaming insults at all of the kids. I'm not sure whether it was the proximity of the houses or the volume of her voice. A lot of the times I could even specifically make out all or most of what she was saying, without even trying to eavesdrop on them. It usually seemed to be fairly trivial things, like forgetting to take out trash, or even playing video games before doing their homework. It seemed like the mother was aggressive, and the one screaming the loudest all the time. I told my mom about it once. It became a regular occurrence, and she said that she really wasn't surprised at all. She had coffee with the mother a few times, said that she was a very strange person, who had an abnormal tight grip on the kids. She says that the woman is concerned about all the weirdos out there, that she never trusted her kids to take the school bus. She would drive them to school, walk the hallways with them, and escort them all the way to the doorway of their class. This caused a lot of tension and frustration with the kids. She said that she tried to mom joke with her about how the kids just embarrassed by her parents, and tried to act like it was just normal, which creeped even my overprotective mother out, and it didn't stop there. They really weren't even allowed to take out the trash by themselves, to the big container that was just a few steps from the side door, without her watching the kids. Not even the guy in his 20s. Soon it started to make sense why the kids were very odd. Turned out the daughter was actually much older than we had thought. She was almost in her mid-20s or something like that. I might be exaggerating. Which all of a sudden made everything a lot weirder and creepier. Still, we kept a friendly relationship with them. Seemed to be on good terms with them. At some point, we started getting random doorbell rings. It was mostly during the day. There happened to be a group of college kids at the end of the block who would scream obscenities at me every single time we drove past on the street, and who constantly had the cops visiting them for things like drag racing. This continued for a little while. One night we also had cops knocking on the door, saying that they had gotten a noise complaint from this house. Funny thing is, we had been sitting quietly most of the evening. Other things started happening as well. Little unnerving things. One Friday, we set up flyers on our block, and also on a few surrounding ones, saying that we had a garage sale. The next day, all the ones on our block and the immediate vicinity had been torn off of the poles and ripped up, but not any of the various posters attached to any given pole. So we made more on Saturday morning, and then we decided to put those up as well. After taking a few hours of dragging things out of the garage, we went back to the street itself and noticed yet again all the flyers on the street had been ripped up, but only specifically ours. We were a little angry, but we really didn't pay any attention to it. By that point, my mom had finally realized that she couldn't be able to regularly afford rent to the house, so we decided that we were moving in a few weeks. We had just put up with everything for a little while longer. One day I was home alone. I heard a large vehicle pull up, and then our dog, who was tethered out front, started to freak out a little bit. I peeked out the front window, saw an animal control officer trying to slip the neck restraint around the dog and take her off the tether that we had. I went outside and asked her what she thought she was doing. She says that she got an anonymous call saying the dog had been out there for days, unsupervised, without food or water, which was bullshit. I called my mom. She comes home immediately while the animal control lady waits. By coincidence, it turns out that this lady is a high school friend of my mother's. They hug and talk a little bit before talking about the situation. The officer said that while she can't disclose the address of who made this complaint, she could tell us it was right on this street. She was motioning towards the house next door. We were confused, because aside from always being friendly with them, we would talk about dog stuff with them, since they owned a couple of dogs themselves. We didn't think that they would do such a thing, but again, we were moving soon. My mom decided not to bring it up with them. One day, close to our moving date, I had found a piece of paper that the daughter had written. It was one of her DeviantArt accounts, and checked it from the sheer boredom that I had. I had nothing to do all day. As I was expecting, there was a lot of bad sexualized furry art. I thought that I could find something else that was more entertaining. I clicked the link in her profile to her live journal. Aside from tons of entries of Slipknot and related pictures, lyrics, snippets, and band fics, there was a lot of personal journal stuff that caught my eye, only because of the title of the one was My Asshole Neighbor. One of the links was something that I'll never forget. There was one about how animal control got called to her house to take her dogs, that the officer had told her it was because of us who had made the call, how she had this burning, violent hatred of us, and she wanted us to die. Since this was pre-social media, I guess she didn't think anyone would actually find this. Yeah, she gave us the DA account that it was linked from, but I guess being that this is still sort of when the internet wasn't exactly as widespread or important as it is today, it would still have been logical to assume that no one would find it. When I showed my mother, she called her friend at Animal Control. They told us that our dog was the first call that they've gotten on this street in many years. Aside from that, I was home all day watching TV right by the window on the day that she claimed that it had happened. I didn't see anything pull into the driveway at any point all day long. This was such a quiet neighborhood that even if I didn't see it, I would hear it, because it would be one of those big animal control trucks pulling into the driveway next door. There were many comments about people talking about how big of a piece of shit we were, telling her to do all these things, to terrorize and get revenge on all of us. Stuff like ringing the doorbell at many hours, then running away, calling the cops on them, giving us a taste of our own medicine. They went as far as to even tell them to call animal control. Many posts about suggesting that they stalk us, or break into our house, kidnap, kill our dog, or do even more rash things. Back then, laws like this weren't quite clear. At least to my mother it wasn't. She was afraid getting the law involved would make things much worse. She also had detailed physical descriptions of us in her post about how much she hated us. My mom had decided to keep our mouths shut, move away as we had planned, which at this point was only a week later, and never see them ever again. That's exactly what we did. This whole thing still makes me feel uneasy, though. Like, what the hell is wrong with her? Why would she make a post like that when the shit that you're complaining about never even happened? Why follow revenge advice? You got nothing to avenge. I guess it hurt even more because I actually liked this girl. I kind of figured that we had common ground, even if she was unbalanced, as to do something like this in the first place. And seeing how things just kept escalating as they did, would anything have stopped her from doing something even more fucked up? It's kind of weird to think about, but yeah, I just really hope I don't ever see this girl ever again. I'm also hoping that one day she actually gets called on and gets some help, because she definitely needs some mental help. This takes place in a fairly large city, roughly 8 or so years ago. I'm female, and at the time I was in my mid-20s. There used to be a gay bar that did goth night every Saturday night, and I would head out there fairly often with my friends. This night, there was a group of about 5 of us that went together. Plus, we always ran into more people we knew once we got there. At some point, I left my friends on the dance floor and went up to the bar to get another drink. It was pretty crowded, so the only space I could squeeze into was right next to some guy that was sitting on a bar stool at the very end of the counter. I ordered my drink, and he looked over and said hello. He had a pretty interesting accent, so I asked him where he was from. He replied that he was originally from Ethiopia. We made small talk as I was waiting for my drink, and I commented that I had a neighbor as a child that was from Ethiopia as well. The exact details of the conversation are a bit hazy. It was years ago after all, and to be fair, I wasn't paying super close attention at the time. So I'm not sure how the conversation went in this direction, but I do remember his words snapping my brain's focus back onto him. I killed people there. Oh, well, I awkwardly chuckled, thinking maybe this was just some weird drunk guy thinking that he would say some weird, creepy things to the goth girl at the bar. Maybe it was his really bad attempt at flirting. My drink arrived, and I remember stirring it, trying to ease my way out of the conversation. But I was still waiting for my change. You used to kill people, huh? He shook his head and replied casually, No, I still do. Uh-huh. My change would not arrive fast enough. I tried another awkward laugh and made some snarky comment about how I was fat, and if he tried to kill me, I'd fight back and just sit on him. I don't know. I had no idea what to say in this situation. Again, casually, without any emotion to his voice, he replied, There's no trying. If I decided to kill someone, I would. My change finally arrived, and I took my drink, which I had not let leave my hand or line of sight for an instant, excused myself, and headed back over to my friends on the dance floor. I watched as he turned on his stool so he could keep an eye on me. He just sat there, sipping his own drink, never looking away. Finally, at some point, I saw him put down his empty glass and move out at the front door. I sighed in relief and continued to enjoy my night. Several hours later, the goth night was ended, and the next theme DJ was taking over. My friends and I are saying goodbye, and I started walking to the front door. I turned around to see my friend that had given me a ride was stuck in a conversation with another acquaintance, so I waited near the door, just inside the building. That's when he grabbed me. The guy from the bar dragged me in further, into a dark corner out of the line of the exit. I was in shock and couldn't make a sound at first as he pinned me to the wall, face pressed against it. He twisted one of my arms behind my back. It seemed like an eternity that he held me there, pushing himself up firmly behind me, almost like he was trying to hide me in even more shadows. There were no lights near us, and no reason anyone to walk by this corner. Even if I yelled, I wasn't sure if anyone would hear me since the DJ had started up. Somehow I managed to shove myself back against him once my fight instinct kicked in. In his surprise, his grip loosened just a bit, and the angle he held me at relaxed, and I managed to shove my fist up against his balls. I have no idea to this day how I actually bent myself around in just the right way, but he doubled over and I ran. I grabbed my friend out of her conversation and breathlessly gave a Cliff Note version of what had happened as I dragged her to the back of the emergency exit. Before I could escape, I was stopped by security. He told me I couldn't go that way and had to leave through the front of the bar. I tried to explain to him that there was a guy up there that had tried to attack me, but he wouldn't listen. Or he just tuned it out, or thought I was just some drunk girl. Thankfully, my friend and I managed to get the attention of a few other people we knew, and we headed out the front as a group. I didn't see the guy anywhere, but I was terrified of getting through the parking lot. I just knew that he could be out there hiding somewhere. My friend and I ran as fast as we could, dove into the car, and she pulled out of the parking space before I could even get my seatbelt on. Creeper Dude was nowhere to be seen. I checked the news the next day to see if there had been any other attacks, or God forbid, murders in the area, but there was nothing. I don't really remember much of his features, or what he was wearing, or how he sounded, but I will never forget the emotionless, blank, or matter-of-fact way that he stated that he killed people, and the way his dark eyes stared at me like I was prey. I never went back to that bar ever again.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night, and I'll see you next time.